From the Mapleview Animal Hospital studios, this is the WHTC Morning News with Gary Stevens and Peg McNichol on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
Welcome back to the WHTC Morning News for this Tuesday. No, not Thursday, not Monday or Wednesday. It's a Friday. Yay! Friday, June 12th edition. By the way, happy anniversary, 5th anniversary for my son, John and Sam, little Carson. Hopefully I'll see my grandson soon. But the music you hear is meaning that on Friday mornings at this time, we spotlight local governments, calling the segment City Hall Chatter. The second Friday of the month is designated for the city of Holland. And today, we continue our series of getting to know the Holland City Council members on a member-by-member basis. On the other side of our Zoom connection is Nicki Arendshorst. She is the first-term 4th Ward Councilwoman for Holland. Nicki is on our Zoom connection. Nicki, good morning and welcome to WHTC.
Thank you, Gary.
Glad you are with us this morning, and we'll ask some meat and potatoes questions a little bit later on. But first of all, Nicki is like the young lady to my right in the newsroom, and also this particular announcer. We are refugees from the Detroit area that made their way to Detroit. For me, it was, after a couple of stops in the Flint-Saginaw area, coming here in 2001 and being here since 2001. Here at WHTC for Peg, going to the Sentinel and being in West Michigan for a number of years. What about you, Nicki? What drew you here to Holland?
Well, my husband was born and raised here, as was his father. So I met him while we were both in school, and this is where we ended up. It was logical. It was his family is here. He works at the Holland Eye Clinic, so that was a logical move, a nice family move. So we've been here, are you going to make me count? Almost 40 years.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. I've been in this business for just a little over 40 myself. So the number 40 is A-okay with me. But for me, it has been a change, and how my views have changed a lot during my 19 years now, it'll be 19 in October, that I've been in this particular market. What about you? How have you changed in the 4 decades since you came over from the east side of the state to here in West Michigan?
Well, everyone changes. You grow up, you have children, you have to make everything work. You're gainfully employed, you're raising children, you're volunteering, you're buying and taking care of a house, you mature. And I think Holland has matured in the same way. When I moved here, it was what I called a burg. It was just a little tiny, this is before internet, of course. So there was no Paredes. Paredes was our international restaurant. And there was Peking House on the north side, but that was it, and so all of a sudden everything happened, and we grow along with it.
Indeed, we do. One thing we like to ask with our guests from the Holland City Council, and sort of a get-to-know-you type of situation, the ward system, which is something we're not used to in Detroit. The City Council is all at-large members, but it's a ward system here in Holland. So the 4th Ward, can you give us a little bit of an idea of what exactly the boundaries are with the 4th Ward, so that people know, hey, that's my council member, or no, that's in a different ward. When we talk about the 4th Ward, where exactly is it?
Well, it's people may have a hard time figuring out where they are in the ward. I'm all to the start at the very far western boundary, which is Old Orchard Road, and take 32nd Street east, and I go all the way almost 3 miles to Central Avenue, actually. But as you travel east, so on the north side, it goes from 32nd to the boundaries, the Lake Macatawa. So that's an interesting neighborhood. And then on the south side, there are a few little bump outs, a little bit down Lugers Road, a little bit down Myrtle. I'm sure those places were somehow petitioned in. I mean, they just don't fit. And then once you hit Graskip Road, it becomes more equal, a box on either side. Then Holland High School, Holland Hospital, cross Washington or Michigan by that time. And there's a little section there.
So basically, you're the far western edge of Holland is your area.
Yes.
What L. Frank Baum used to call Macatawa, Michigan.
almost to Macatawa. That would be more Park Township.
Yeah, indeed. Reason why, again, we want to sort of set the boundaries and some of the challenges it is. Before we talk about overall Holland, one of the challenges of your area has to be dealing with high water. We just got a notice from the Army Corps of Engineers that Lakes Michigan, Huron, St. Clair, and Erie set new monthly mean water levels for May of 2020. And that has an impact, not just with the big lake, but also with Lake Mac, because, if Lake Michigan doesn't get high water, unless Lake Mac has high water, and it does have high water, that has to be a concern in your ward right now.
It is, and we hear from the neighbors there. It's a concern all over the city, for the causeway to Windmill Island and the Pine Avenue. But yes, especially the several of the houses along in that Central Park neighborhood. The streets get flooded, the road ends, the water rises, and the city's done a lot working with the neighbors, BPW, Streets Department, to help mitigate that as much as possible.
And the other thing, too, is the fact that it's one thing to have high water, and compounding that is when people tend to be a little selfish on Lake Mac and want to use the speedboats and the jet skis. And we're dealing with the no wake zone, and obviously that's going to be a big issue the rest of this year, as council has asked the state to make sure that the no wake zone is enforced all year long.
Exactly, and all three municipalities around the lake, Park Township, Holland Charter, and Holland, have petitioned the MDNR about that. But people do have to realize it is a mixed-use lake. There are kayakers, there are swimmers, there are sailboats, there are jet skis, and there are people living around the lake.
We're talking with Nicki Arendshorst. She is the 4th Ward Council member in the City of Holland with our City Hall Chatter segment. Before we talk about some of the more immediate things going on, I do want to ask you, as you've had experience dealing with Park Township government and dealing with the City of Holland government, besides the obvious differences in how it's structured, township and city and stuff like that, what differences have you seen in the first few months, really 6 months that you've been in office, that makes Holland a little bit different than, say, Park Township?
Well, we didn't have COVID interrupting, that's for sure. So things kind of stopped there. City government's a little different. There is a police force. There is a downtown, a larger retail area. And I think the population is closer together. So all those make a difference in how you deal with issues and people.
Let's deal with an issue that was spoken of somewhat eloquently by Quincy Byrd during the last council meeting for comments, and it was a palatable silence after his remarks. Quincy, of course, one of the more reserved members of the Holland City Council. All governments, all municipalities have to deal with some of the issues stemming from the George Floyd incident and bringing up bigger and larger questions. Some say Holland has been a little bit slow in responding to some of these things. Others say, hey, wait a minute. Take a look at how Holland's police has been and its public safety, and that they've addressed some of the issues beforehand, proactive beforehand. As Quincy made his remarks, and as you have seen over the last, especially 3 weeks, since the Memorial Day incident in Minneapolis, your thoughts on this and whether or not, what do we need to do in Holland, Michigan to address the issue that some say needs to be addressed on a statewide and nationwide, and some say even global condition?
Yeah, and we do see the global ramifications of this. Yes, Quincy's speech was very powerful, very meaningful, and it came from the heart, and it did stop us. I think for our police force, Chief Messer has been incredibly proactive in this, as you suggested. In our police have relationships with the neighborhood, and when you are into the neighborhood and the people in the neighborhoods know you, it's a whole different. It's not as we've seen in some of the cities where it's been violent or it's been a us against them kind of situation. That's not that way in Holland. And as far as the city, we're working. We, as many places are, diversity, equity, and inclusion is part of our vision when council went into our advanced meeting in January. And I sometimes look at our city council, and it's very diverse, which is kind of nice. Although we don't have the young demographic anymore. I did take Brian Lynn's place, so we need some more young people. But I think we're working on it. We're very aware we have a human, Esther Fafelsky is working on human relations and working. It's a remarkable, we're making progress, and I think there is a desire, and I think it's happening in Holland.
I hope it does continue. I know that there are some that have their doubts, but then again, in human endeavor,
Yes.
the questions do come up, and that is just the nature of the beast, I'm afraid.
Nature, and nobody likes change, really. You know, it's always a little difficult, and then you turn the corner, and it's not that scary.
Not that scary indeed. Nicki Arendshorst, want to thank you very much for joining us today on WHTC's Morning News with the City Hall Chatters segment. Look forward to chatting with you on Talk of the Town. That's what the schedule is for July, and look forward to that. Thanks for letting us know a little bit about you, and we look forward to our conversation next month. Thank you, Nicki.
Thank you, Gary.
And that is Nicki Arendshorst of the Holland City Council with City Hall Chatter on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.